So we just finished up learning how to use First Light, and now we're back in Premiere here. And what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna try to bang through this here pretty quick, and just let's take a look at some of the filters that are inside of Premiere that are created by Cineform. There's filters, there's some different transitions and whatnot, and then to wrap up, we'll throw it over into After Effects and just take a quick look there at how to handle your project. And we'll do it here too, just making sure how to properly export it and keep the best control that you can over top of with your footage quality. So, all right, we got our timeline here. And what I'm going to do right now is let's wheel down video effects here. And let's see what we got. Here we go. We got a couple filters right here. You know, it's like non-RT means this is a non-real-time filter. But these guys here are all 32-bit Cineform real-time filters. But let's throw one of them on. We'll throw the color balance on just so you can take a look at it. Pretty simple looking slider, pretty simple looking controller here. But essentially what we've got is the ability to, well, one, we can do a split screen here so we can see what we're doing. But I can start actually balancing out my colors here pretty quickly. There's a good idea of what your little list of filters will do. You've got the ability to handle parallax 3D inside of here too. And let's look at transitions here as well. So video transitions, and we've got Cineform dissolves. So you can see we've got an additive dissolve and a cross dissolve, 32-bit. Now these are going to handle, these are going to work natively with the Cineform engine. They're just going to run through here a lot smoother than what the other ones will. But right now we've got that big raw clip dumped in here, and that thing's always a dog. So when my playback is probably on half, and it is. So if I drop that down, we're going to get much quicker playback, but we're not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to delete this, and let's save that. Let's go down here to export and do an export media. I just want to show you a couple quick things here. So this just came up. Let's say we're going to kick out into a Cineform. We've got a couple options here. So Cineform AVI. Let's stay there. 1920 by 1080. Make sure you've got use maximum render quality checked. If you're doing high quality render, uncheck use previews. And depending on what kind of footage you're working with, mixed timeline, it's up to you. I would probably render out into an RGB 444 since everything I'm working with, because I'm not going to really get too much out of going up. You can definitely render into the YUV 422, especially if your output's going to tape or going for broadcast or something like that, and you're storing that as the master. But if you got the ability, go ahead and render out into 444, and if you're using footage that's using 444 color space or higher, including raw, what you have here is the RGBA 444, or what that is that also has an alpha channel. So if you're using anything with an alpha channel, render out into there too. But otherwise, that's typically where I'm gonna sit. So just make sure everything's set up there, and I'm just gonna select all these guys, copy, and let's minimize that. And let's make a new composition. Down here. Okay. Looks good, looks good. You'll probably want this will be a little bit longer. Just make it 30 seconds. Hit OK. I'm going to shrink down my window size. And while I'm at it, I'm going to change my background color to black, just so it's not annoying. And then, you can't see this right now. Let me get my window over here. I like to spread out across dual monitors a lot. So what I'm going to do is, I've got my timeline playback area selected. I'm going to hit Control V. It's going to pull in my clips. It's interesting how the raw R3D file, or the R3D raw files, that came out of that, come in as comps. Take a look in there. Just really quick, let's what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off most of my settings. I'm going to keep white balance, I'm going to keep my primaries, but I'm going to turn off my looks. I'm going to turn off framing. Turn off overlay. You want to make sure you disable the stuff that you don't want to render, that you don't want to bake in ahead of time as well. So see if I can get this to update. Maybe if I do a reload footage, we'll get somewhere. So far, not yet. I may have to restart After Effects here. Sometimes this will automatically just update. Sometimes not. Nope. Looks like what we'll do is we'll just do a quick restart. So let's go ahead and save our project. So save as. And we're going to jump out here to our working folder. I'm going to make a new folder. Call it effects. And then I'll make a new folder inside of that. Call it comps. And we'll call this Cineform cleanup color. Alright. And let's restart. See if we're updating here. This took care of it. Thinking out loud, I might have had better luck if I had just cleared my video memory. So, under, now we're back up. Let's open that. It's just under purge. I can clear video memory and image caches. That might have saved me. Alright. So at full, zoomed in, 100%, or even 200, we can see we've got a pretty crisp shot here off of the XD cam. I mean, it's got a lot of built-in sharpening and does its thing, but it does a nice job with it. While everything like that is turned way down on our 7D and our 5D footage. Let's get him back into shot. And let's mess with him a little bit. So I'm expanding the timeline, just zooming in a little bit. Let's see if I can find a spot that I like. It's not all crazy blurred up there. There we go. That's 100%. And the way it looks, the sharpening was probably up a little bit more on the 5D that the DP was using than what it was on the 7. So just to keep it simple, let's work with the 7. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new adjustment layer, pull it down, and I'm going to select my video layer. I'm going to hit I for in, select the adjustment layer, alt bracket, select this, out, O for out, adjustment layer, and alt closing bracket. And these tricks here, these are going to work for whether you're working with Cineform or not. These couple little tricks here for how to clean up your some of your footage will definitely help. So let's see here. So I know we want to sharpen in there, and let's see, I want to throw some color balance in there. What else? We'll throw levels on. We'll throw hue and saturation. Actually, one other favorite. I really like color finesse. Okay, so we should get a little bit of noise removal in there too while we're at it. Noise. We'll add a remove grain, and then we'll end up adding a little bit back in here afterwards too. Alright. So now we've got all that. Let's see, what the heck are we doing with this huge mess? That's going to go at the bottom. Actually, noise is going to go at the bottom. I'm going to remove grain early on. First, I'm going to mess with my levels a little bit. Alright. So let's get a little bit of a contrast back in there, so we can see where that grain's really showing up. If you notice, we can definitely see how this stuff's really blocking along here. And speaking of, I haven't changed my bit depth here yet, so I want to go to 16, and then we want to let's work in sRGB. Hit OK, and there you go. We just got quite a difference. It's very important that you work, no matter what, like, color space is important, but even more so your bit depth in After Effects. Don't mess with 8-bit. You're going to get a lot more banding. So if you can see here, I actually just created a project in After Effects at 32. I got some really nice results with some 5D footage in that for a little music video project that we worked on. Alright, so let's get back here to the effects. I am going to turn off my remove grain for the moment and try to figure out where the best place to pull that from is going to be. It's probably mostly going to be along like where his code is, but let's turn this back on. Take a look here. We've got a preview. Oop. There we go. I'm zooming in. And take a look here. You can kind of see where, or that's now with and without. Not a huge difference yet. Turn that down a little bit. Let's see where we're at. This is going to slow down quite a bit. Final output. See, we lightened up the frame there a little bit, but we're going to rebuild that too once we get it down here into with color finesse. So I've also found a couple other tricks, like by layering up some extra colors and stuff like that, you know, using gradients and some, you know, selective masking and things like that. By, you know, stacking your adjustment layers, you're almost adding, it's almost like painting over top of your existing footage in some ways. So I know, you know, a lot of people argue like it's a hack, that you're not really improving your footage, but honestly in some ways you are. And the rule that, you know, the rule that I live by is like, if the final product looks great and it's what you were hoping for, and who your client is or wherever you're delivering, if they love it, you've won. So I mean, getting down into the little arguments about like, well, I'm not really actually adding bits here of bits of information here or there. I mean, those are arguments that you can have, but at the end of the day, and with all this, at the end of the day, if it doesn't look good, if you're not getting the results that, you know, that you need or that you're hoping to get, then why bother? All right, let's finish this up. I'm gonna rip through here. Turn off noise and sharpening. Actually, for the moment, since I've got color finesse, let's go ahead and get rid of those. And we won't bother loading up the full interface. We'll just stick right here. So what I'm going to do is let's just warm up the overall grade there just a little bit. Not that it isn't already, but cool off the shadows. And it's taking a while. Let me disable my remove grain here real quick. Alright. Now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick little S-curve. Basically almost bleach bypassing in some ways. I had there, just to get stuff a little bit crunchy. So we got a real nice fade off there in the cape now, I think. I'm starting to see. I like how my blacks are falling off at this point. They're really standing out. I got some nice contrast, but they're not blocking. So if you notice that, it's much better by throwing some noise removal in there early on. And then we're going to sharpen it up though still. So I'm good with that. Just a quick little touch. I mean, you can get much more detailed in the way that you clean up your shots, but here's the important one. If you shot with your 7D, 5D, whatever, if you shot like, you know, sharpening way down, you need to turn it up. And suddenly, this picture's got a lot more pop to it. Looks like there's a lot more detail. Let's turn remove grain back on. There we go. Actually, I should dip this just a little bit more. So I forgot that I'm really bumping that up. Alright. There we go. Good. Let's see here. If I want to... Let's warm that up there a little bit. And it's much different than what we were looking at, but just makes something that looks nice. Now we're going to add some noise back on here. Doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe just about 1.5%. Just a little bit. The reason for that, again, is like so you're not going to end up with a whole bunch of banding in some of these areas. This is going to band and block on output if it feels like these these tones are all too similar. So I think we're looking pretty good. It's getting a little bit, that's starting to fall apart there a little bit, but we'll live with that for today. You can really get in there and fine tune. If anything, it almost looks like a little bit of lens noise there, which isn't too bad. Alright, here's our playback. I just did a quick little, paused it to give you guys a quick little RAM preview. Looks like I'm dropping a frame there someplace. That wasn't there a second ago. But as you can see, what I'm really liking here though, we'll just let that go. I'm loving the fall off in the cape. If I hadn't been working with my footage like this in a 16-bit color space, I'm wondering if color would even be handling this like that right now. If I was color correcting in color, I think we'd be getting some much heavier banding. The sharpening cleaned up real nice. There's some other things that we can do. Nicer sharpening, but this is a quick way. This is going to give you a pretty quick render. This is going to be the big guy that slows you down. You remove grain.